Warning. If you trigger easily, then you are easy to control. Broadcasting nationwide from the Central Command Unit, it's the Mr. X-Files with John Mutton.
It's time for the Mr. X-Files here at Murderer's Row Bar with my co-host Ben Fudge.
Good to be here, John.
Good to see you, Ben. Good to see you. Well, exciting week last week, but we've got some exciting news that we want to tell you about this week. Is we've just entered into an agreement as our a sponsor for the Mr. X-Files. So we're moving forward with a sponsorship arrangement with the Oshawa Durham Central newspaper and Joe and Gino.
You didn't announce that in all caps.
If anyone knows Joe and Gino, he gets into debates online and he uses all caps. Very difficult to read, and I think he does it to annoy people anyway. But we're really pleased to have a relationship with him. I'm going to be putting another little column into his paper regarding the local issues, while the big picture stuff is here on the Mr. X-Files. So we'd like to welcome the Oshawa Durham Central on as our title sponsor, and look forward to moving that. Now I have a really funny story, and then we're going to another announcement, but a really funny story. So when I was mayor, as mayor you sit on Durham Region Council. So in front of me, Oshawa Councillor Joe Colodzi sat, and I didn't know Joe at the time, but I was saying, the Oshawa Central newspaper, that gentleman Joe in Gino runs it. And Joe says to me, he says, John, we call him Joe Vagina in Oshawa. So I never forgot that. And I mentioned it to Joe today, and he had a smile on his face, and he laughed too. And Joe Colodzi, the former councillor, was always a good wit as well. But Ben, you have some good news as well.
Good news, John. Alison Murden's charges were dropped, so she didn't even need to go to court. Paul Lewin, the amazing lawyer, got something worked out before the court date, so they didn't even have to go. So congratulations, Alison, and congratulations, Paul, and congratulations to everybody who this benefits, because we know that psilocybin is helping a lot of people out there.
Yeah, so as just to remind everyone, the poor lady was charged using medicinal psilocybin. She has MS, just the same as if you were using medicinal cannabis for something that you had. So it was totally a bogus charge, and I'm glad charges were dropped. So good news for Alison.
Most of these victories happen in court and not really with the legislation. Once the victories happen in court, it's precedent setting, and then that is going to help somebody else win their case in the future.
Absolutely. I'm really happy to hear that. And I actually had quite a few people that were messaging me regarding that last week, saying how awful it was for the poor lady, because obviously she's not using it to get high. Last week I had the pleasure of talking to Unite the Kingdom leader Tommy Robinson quite a bit. So we're looking at doing something in Canada. You might hear me bringing up some items that are similar in the UK as they are in Canada when we start talking about broad-scale immigration policy. And so it's going to be very interesting, and I hope one day that we can have Tommy on the podcast. It would be very interesting. But today we're going to talk about severance remuneration for members of council. So this has been a bee in my bonnet for quite some time, Ben. So anyone that runs for council, and it depends on each city that you're in. So it's that city's decision to make a severance policy, or that region's decision to make a severance policy. So in most of the Greater Toronto area and larger cities, if you run for public office and you get re-elected, then you have a severance put in. So they're 4-year terms, so 8 years. So if you're a regional councillor in Durham, for instance, because I know the numbers, so it makes $130,000, $140,000 a year. So if you were to get defeated or retire after 8 years, then you get a severance of $97,500. You also get a pension, an Omer's pension on for 8 years associated with that. You know, if you were a local councillor before you're a regional councillor, it all depends on your time in public office, but then you get a pension towards that. The issue is not the severance, but so, and I know there's some councillors out there that are going to be, you know, not crazy about what I have to say, but I think the taxpayers are going to be are interested in it. So we can use there's a councillor here that I'll use him as an example. Councillor Willie Wu in Clarington. I think he served 8 years on Durham Region Council and 8 or perhaps I think it was 8 years as a local councillor, local regional council. So he would have received about $97,500 when he retired, and then he came back and he ran, and he got elected again. So he's in a position to get a second severance. So
if you get your severance package the first time around,
yeah,
you can go retire for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And come back again and get a second severance package.
Correct. Say you did 8 years, and then you got your 130,000, and then you did another 8 year, or you took 4 years off, and you did another 8 years. You got another 130,000. Now you're 260 or $250,000 into the taxpayers. When residents of any municipality need to take a look, you know, do you have a severance policy for politicians in there? I think it's fair to have something, because there's no other group of people than federal, provincial, and municipal politicians that have a harder time with employment after public office. It really is a struggle, and there's a high number of suicides that happen. You don't read about it, but it's true that it does happen. But I also don't think that this is a public trough where you should actually be able to double up on your severances. There should be a cap. Now, there's a lot of good people out there who were defeated or retired and then came back and have done very well in public office a second time, because of, you know, you get elected, then you get reelected. But there has to be a cap on the amount of money that's put out there. It's too much if they don't have a limit on it, Ben.
Can you come back a third time?
Well, why not? There's no limit. You could serve 8 years and then go off for 4, come back and serve another, and then maybe go take an appointment with the province of Ontario or the federal government, or run for MPP or MP, and then say you defeated or retire from there, and then you can come back here again. Oh yeah. So we're the municipalities that have OMERs. So think about this. So if you were to, again, another local one, and I'm not picking on him this time, although he deserves to be picked on, is Clarington Mayor Adrian Foster. So he has been in public office. He'll be in long enough to collect a full pension based on the best 5 years. So he makes probably about 75% of what is best 5 years, and there'll be $200,000 a year. So he'll have $150,000 a year pension. Not only that, but he'll also have the year and a half severance, so in the neighborhood of $300,000. So you get $300,000 and you get $150,000 a year pension that you're going to get when you retire or are defeated.
I guess we don't pick on Brian Nicholson.
By no means am I picking on Brian. I like the guy. He's a damn good counselor, and he's worth every cent you give him.
Over the last couple of decades, Brian and I have met, not seeing eye to eye on a whole bunch of issues, but I have a lot of respect for him. Go on his, he's got a Facebook page, Brian Nicholson South Oshawa Group. And if you go on that Facebook page and ask him a question, he will answer you.
Yeah, he will. And he does good polling, and he knows how to make decisions. There's no question about it. Obviously, he's going to grind some people the wrong way. It happens all the time in public office. I know that him and I used to go at it at Durham Region Finance Committee quite a bit, because he called me John Blue Light and called John Gray John Blue, and we used to go at it a bit. But however, on the finance end, we were always pretty close, because he's a fiscally conservative, but you know, he's Brian ran for the NDP and so on. So, but even though the stuff that we went at the council table, we'd always be able to have a coffee after and have a good laugh over it. So we never held anything personally. And he's really good that way. So, and this isn't the episode of Brian Nicholson. We just started talking it. We never had any of this prepared.
This is what you get, unscripted content.
Unscripted, yes. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Till next week, everyone.
Don't forget to like, comment, give John some questions so we got something to answer, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
And my head's on fire again.